Morning, guys. On Matthew 10, verse 26 to 33, we're looking at the fear of God. In chapter 5, we looked at God saying, don't be anxious for anything. And he brought our attention to the sparrows and how God provides for them. And in the same way, here he says, don't fear God, which is very linked to anxiousness. And he again brings us back to creation and how God sovereignly knows every hair on our head and every sparrow. So he says, therefore do not fear them. And this is after context of sending them out into the world to preach the gospel. There will be persecution. However, don't fear those that persecute you, for there's nothing concealed that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. So just remember, first and foremost, is that God sees all things, and he will judge all things, and he'll bring all things to the light. And so we don't have to worry that our persecutions not going to be judged or seen. God will bring justice in the end, and so we don't need to fear. Verse 27, what I tell you in the darkness, speak in the light, and what you hear whispered in your ear, proclaim upon the housetops. Housetops were used as areas to speak publicly. And so God's saying, go out, be the light, don't be ashamed of the gospel. This is what I'm telling you now and privately. Now you go and spread the word and preach the gospel to all men. And don't worry about the reaction, don't worry about the consequences, don't worry about the persecution that will come. Let's be the light in the world. Verse 28, do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the soul. So the persecution will come, and they can harm you, they can whip you, scourge you, and even kill you, but they can't take your soul. They can't do anything about your eternal destiny. And so in that regard, the worst thing that could happen to you is that they could kill you, but even then you're going to make it into heaven and be with God, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But rather fear him who's able to destroy both soul and body in hell. And so our fear needs to be directed at God. Don't fear man, but rather fear God. God is the one who can judge the soul, the inner man, and either send you to heaven or hell. And so rather, if there's going to be any fear, rather have it directed towards God, who has the control and power over all things, including your soul. In Luke 12, verse 5, it says, persecutors can only harm the body, but God is the one who destroys in hell. And so we see this picture throughout the Gospels, that our fear needs to be directed in the right thing. Often we fear circumstances, we fear men, but ultimately we must fear God, who is the judge over all things. Verse 29, are not two sparrows sold for a cent, and yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And so two sparrows, the Mishnah talks about little birds, clean birds being sold for money, and even in the Roman cookbooks they had recipes for small birds. So small birds was obviously a sort of a kind of staple diet for the poor, but you can imagine a little sparrow is not going to give you much meat, so it's not going to cost very much. And so two of them for a cent doesn't cost much, it doesn't mean much in the sense of any value. But even the sparrows, God knows and cares and feeds. And not only does he know every single sparrow, it says he knows when one falls to the ground, and nothing can fall to the ground apart from him, which means that he is sovereign over all things. And so he's appointed once for you to be born and once for you to die, and he knows, he made you, he created you, and he knows when you're going to die. And so everything is in God's control. Nothing is outside of God's control. And so we also need to bring that into the picture as we go out into the world, fearing the situation, fearing the circumstances, bringing our hearts back in line with God, fearing God, but also remembering who he is, that he is in control of everything. He'll bring things into the light, but also he cares for you. If he cares for the sparrows, how much more will he care for you? Verse 29, and this is verse 30, but the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So even the hairs on your head, He knows every single detail, every single concern of your heart, and He loves you. And we just got to remind ourselves that when we do go out and we are persecuted, the God of love has His hand over us and is protecting us. Verse 31, so do not fear, for you are more valuable than many sparrows. Therefore everyone who confesses me before men, I will also confess him before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I will also deny him before my Father who is in heaven. And I really believe that every true believer wants to proclaim Christ, has been given a heart for the gospel. We're all evangelists. We all should want to tell people about Jesus, and we should never want to deny Him. And yes, we may fall like Peter, but ultimately our heart should always be to proclaim the gospel. And let's pray that God will give us the strength. It is nerve-wracking at times, and we think we don't have the right words. Pray that God will give you the right words, that you'll speak boldly in the right situations, that He'll help you with the fear that sometimes grips all of our hearts, and that we'll be faithful all the way to the end, like it says in these scriptures in Matthew here and later at the end. Those who endure to the end will be saved.